am your host, Sandy. So welcome back. It's Wednesday, and it's a little bit after the hour of 7 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in. You know how we do it. We bring it to you live and in living color. We like to keep it real, hot, sassy. We may laugh, we may cry, we may cap, we may joke, but we keep it 100. So always remember that. So thanks for tuning in. If you got something to say, look us up, www.tuckradio.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. You name it, we're there. You can reach us here, 513-792-2894. Our tech guys not here tonight. They're working. So shout out to you all because I know you're tuning in. So welcome. And guess what? I got some guests tonight. How are you guys?
Good. I'm good.
Good.
How are you?
Welcome. I'm well. And guess what, people? To my right and your left, we got the man in the house that's going to be bringing more pounds to the ounce.
Hey.
You know, that's how we do it up in here. Welcome. We got a new family member. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much. That introduction was everything.
Well, thank you very
I
much.
appreciate that.
You know, that's how we keep it up
That's
in
what
here.
she
In case
do.
you didn't know. So that's why we're celebrating tonight, people, because we got another family that has joined the Tuck Radios.
That's
okay?
right. That's
He's
right.
joined us. Montez, the one and only Pounce. Okay? We're bringing it to you tomorrow night, 7:30. So make sure you tune in every Thursday night because it's going to be what? More pounds
To the ounce.
Okay? So you got to tune in and check us out, check him out, and hey, let him know what's going on. Hit him up, hit us up.
Absolutely.
But tonight's topic, we're talking about trust.
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 That's a big word right
That's
there.
a big
Yeah.
word.
Big
I
word.
mean, you know,
It's heavy.
Trust.
Yeah.
Five. And what does the number 5 mean? What does it indicate? Anybody know? I don't know either.
I was told that the number 5 is the number of grace.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
it right there.
Okay, we're going to go with
Without
that.
trust, you can't have grace. Without grace, you can't have trust. we gonna say
They
that.
hand in
Say
hand.
that.
Okay.
They working hand in hand.
Okay.
So let's talk about trust. Let's talk a little bit about trust because I know that is a big word. It's huge. It's dynamic. It means a lot because if you don't have trust in anything,
Yeah.
You don't have
what do
nothing.
you have?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Nothing.
Nothing. So in a relationship, do you feel like you should have trust in a relationship?
That's one of the number one things. I think that's the foundation. So you have to have that in any and every relationship. Co-workers, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, sister, brother, every relationship.
So do you build your relationships on trust? Do you believe it on? Do you build it on lust or love?
Oh boy.
Okay, so which one is it?
She
I'm
getting
just
heavy.
saying. We're talking about trust because when you give up the goodies, you must trust somebody because you trusted them enough to give up the goodies. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think there is no relationship, and I think you touched on this already. There is no relationship if trust, which I believe is a main ingredient in relationships, is not present. But I also believe that trust is built. You just don't have it. It's something that is built. It's something that is gained through a series of experiences, a series of things that take place that either shows me you can be trustworthy or you can't be trustworthy. And so we've heard it all the time, often. Trust is built.
Yep.
And so when you're building a building, it's a process.
But you got to have that foundation.
You got to have a foundation.
Yeah.
Well, in building that trust, it has to be, I believe, noted earlier on in the relationship. Like, I'm going to be very exclusive with you, but if you want this to continue, then trust has to be present.
Mm-hmm.
And you said built. It is like building a house.
Yeah.
You just can't trust somebody overnight,
Right.
and think, the doors of the heavens is just opened up, and you just gonna fall in. It
Yeah.
ain't like that.
Yeah.
You do have to build it brick by brick or stone by stone or board by board, nail by nail. Either way, you got to build it.
Absolutely.
And I get that, and it just don't come easy.
It takes time.
And
It
it's
takes a
not
lot
just-
of time.
And it's not just like you said, it's with coworkers.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
because you got to have trust with, well,
Whew.
what I do on a daily basis.
I trust myself more, but I'm just still. You still have to have some type of level. You got to start somewhere. So yeah. I mean, obviously, your relationship and trusting is gonna be different with your coworker than
Sure.
it would be with your spouse
Sure.
or your sister or brother. You know, it's levels to trust.
Yeah, and
So-
I would also like to add that, you know, when it comes to trust, especially in the workplace, if you have if you're holding a managerial standpoint
Ooh,
or position,
Jesus.
I think it's important as a supervisor, as a director, as a CEO to have some level of trust
Right.
in your employees.
Right.
I think the lack of trust produces micromanagement. I think the lack of trust, and we're just talking about within the context of that work relationship.
Mhm.
But if you are, you know, an owner of a business, if you are a CEO of a business, and you have the responsibility of supervising your employees, it's a headache to micromanage
Grown people.
Grown people, exactly, exactly. So you have to develop that type of trust within that working relationship, because for me, if I know my manager doesn't trust me, it kind of cuts off my ability to be creative
Right,
and innovative.
Right. That's a problem.
Or
Absolutely.
want to push forward.
Exactly, or want to push forward, or pounce.
Right.
Exactly.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Exactly.
That was the word we was looking
Exactly.
I mean, let's even go with what you do for a living. You know, I got to trust you because you know, touching
Yeah,
your
you
hair.
touching you getting in
got-
people's personal space. You have
Yeah.
to, they have to definitely trust you to be in a personal space, whether it's makeup, it's hair, they getting their lashes done. You're consulting with them in any space where it's like really personal with them, and you're hands on with them.
Sure.
You know, so you have to. It has to be some type of level of trust.
So how do you build that trust in the line of work that you do?
A lot of times, obviously, most of it is like reference, word of mouth, things that they've seen, things that they heard. Obviously, if you're getting positive, people is putting out positive, or they're hearing positive, or they're seeing positive. They're like, okay, I want to give this a try. Because
Yeah.
other people are saying that this is positive, so I'm gonna trust their word.
Mhm.
So that's what it is a lot of time, and just experiencing, networking, and knowing people, and their personality has a lot to do with that too.
Yeah.
The vibes that you give off
Yeah.
lets people know that, like, this is a person that's kind of shady, or this is somebody I really can trust.
Sure. I think credibility plays a huge part,
Definitely.
as it relates to not only just in romantic relationships, but in consumer and buyer relationships, your working relationships. You know, you're in the line of the beauty industry,
Yep.
and I have a wife that's in the beauty industry as well, and so I think that notoriety that you get based on word of mouth
Yeah,
and that
so make or
credibility
break.
that is built
Yep.
over the course of time is really what enhances people to really not only trust you as a stylist, but trust your work, trust your ability to understand the craft, because there's a lot of, in your profession, there's a lot of
There's a lot of people that's trusting.
non-trustworthy people
There is,
that
and
are
they
doing
trust them
hair.
right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And then after a while, they're like, I don't know why I trust it. I don't know. You know, so yeah, some people are walking in blindly, but yeah, it's super important
Super.
to have that.
Extremely. I mean, I agree. I mean, and what I do on a daily basis, Jesus Christ. I mean, I have to trust the person that's standing next to me, you know, the person that's going with me to wherever I'm going. I mean, I do. I rely on them that if I mess up, or if
You
I goof
definitely-
up, if something that I do wrong, or if I don't see something, I got to trust to believe that they're going to catch what I didn't catch.
Sure.
You know,
Yes.
because it's a life or death with what I do on a
Yes,
daily
Absolutely.
basis,
yes.
you know, and so you do have to have trust with your coworkers,
Yeah.
you know. But now let's get on down to the nitty gritty about trusting your mate.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Yeah, now let's dig down a little deeper about trusting your mate.
Okay.
So when you are starting to date, because now you're dating, you're building that foundation.
Yep.
Mhm.
You know, you got a brick and you got a stone, you got a board and you got a nail and you got a hammer. So you got to have all those things to put together. So what happens if you're missing an ingredient or missing a piece to help you build that foundation in trust? Now, how do you gain it? How do you get it? What do you do in a relationship to earn the trust?
I think that's a good question. I think for me personally, I think, and I know some people may disagree with this, or some people may agree with it.
That's you. We keeping it 100.
I think that you let people show you who they really are. I think trust is earned as much as you're showcasing that you can be trusted. And you just don't start a relationship and just end it over the course of one date or one interaction with that person. There's numerous interactions with that individual, and so it's based on those interactions and those experiences that you guys have together that you determine, I believe, whether or not this person is trustworthy or not trustworthy. Mm-hmm. And you do that by just exploring life together, and putting each other in situations where you respond, whether you're trusting or not,
Right.
And that's the key. You try to put yourself in that situation. But now let's go the devil's advocate.
Uh-oh.
And we've been looking for a man to come on and discuss some issues with us. And, Pounce is now a part of the family. We wanted to kind of break him in on tonight.
Appreciate
what
that.
I'm saying? So he can come in tomorrow so you guys will be prepared. So why is it so difficult for men to trust
she done went
women?
there.
Yeah, I'm with the jugular,
we're going there.
We going,
Repeat the question so everybody can understand that.
First of all, we appreciate Pounce for being here. His
Definitely.
name is Montez, really, but
It's
more
the Pounce. More
to the
Pounce.
ounce.
There you go.
I appreciate that.
So my question is, once again, why is it, and you all can chime in, we are reading your comments, why is it so difficult for men to trust women?
Well, I'm like I said, we keep it real here at Tuck Radio. So I think one of the reasons, and I think there's several, but I think one of the reasons why men aren't as trusting with women as they should be is, I think number one is it depends on their upbringing. It depends on what they were exposed to earlier on. Even me being a young grown man now, there are times where I battle with things, and I can trace it back to something that took place within my childhood, something that I didn't receive from my own father, or something that I didn't receive from my own mother, and it's like arrested development, so to speak, and so I think we can definitely connect the lack of trust to upbringing. I think we can also connect it to what we've been able to see at times from a societal standpoint. I think a lot of things play into it, whether it be our music, whether it be our culture, whether it be what we've seen on the television, in our movies or whatnot. And I think another reason is we can't trust women, so to speak, but we can take it a step further.
I'm waiting on it.
We could take it a step further. We don't trust people in general because we don't trust ourselves.
Yeah.
We're not willing. We haven't developed that inward trust, or we don't really understand, or haven't really completely defined what trust means. And so those are just several reasons, I believe, why men find it hard to really trust. And like I said, it also can stem from bad experiences with the opposite sex. We see some men that have left their taste in women and transferred or come out the closet, so to speak, because of a hard breakup or a bad relationship. So there's several reasons, I believe.
And I was going, and you touched on it a little bit. Women have, and I mean, I'm sorry, women, but I got to go there. We have caused some damage, a lot of damage to our men because we have done so much to hurt them. So once, because I think sometimes there are some men that give their all to women.
Absolutely.
I mean, every bit of them, they give it to them. And so once they have been hurt and truly hurt, it's hard for them to try to trust the next woman to come into their life. And you're right. I do believe it's the foundation that they were built on when they were growing up.
Sure.
But everybody wasn't born with a mother and a father in the same household.
Absolutely.
And some fathers, some young men grew up fatherless. So the only person that they had to look to was their grandmothers and their mothers.
Right.
So my question is again, and I get it. You know, you're speaking from your point of view. You know, most men, let's just keep it real, most men have it difficult to trust women.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because, once again, going back to the foundation and how they grew up and what they saw.
Right.
Mhm.
And the breakage that they had. I mean, some men are just broken. Women just done dog some good men. Some good men.
That's true.
Good men.
Why do you think that is?
It stems back to what you said.
Yeah.
It's on both sides. It's on the male side, and it's on the woman's side.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's two types of people. There are people who give you all their trust at first, and then you break it, and then they might be like, "Oh, I'll give you another chance." And then there's people who don't trust you at all, and then that time has passed, and they're like, "Oh, okay, they don't earn me. They cool with me." So I just feel like it's two types of people when it comes to the word trust, you know. And a lot of people they putting their all out right then and there, like, I trust everything this person is saying, until something the opposite happens. And then there's those that you got to earn it. It's gonna take some time.
Definitely.
You know,
Definitely.
you got to build.
Definitely. I think we can, if we really stay on that topic of, you know, upbringing and what we've experienced as children, you know, grandma taught y'all some things, you know. Grandma said, "Don't you let a man know your right move from your left hand from your right hand," you know, and you keep a little money to yourself, you know, and when you you know, go into these relationships and you're trying to establish a new norm for each other, you know, you're going to have to, unfortunately, rid yourself of those traditional mindsets or patterns of thinking, because trust cannot be built based on, you know,
What
a
my
previous
grandmama told me.
revelation.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So you're going to have to kind of redefine what trust means for you guys,
Right.
based on where you feel you're envisioning your relationship going.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yep.
Should you bend over backwards? Should you do anything that you possibly can if you're trying to get that woman or that man, should you do whatever you can to get their trust or to gain their trust, especially if you know that they have lost trust in men and a relationship, or women and a relationship? Should you bend over backwards to gain it or get it back?
I'm gonna let y'all have that one.
Hey. If you've broken it, and you feel like this is the person that you should be fighting for, I would say fight for it, because anything worth having, it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take some fight. It's not just gonna be easy. You know what I mean? So fight for it. If it's something you've done and you've broken their trust, and you feel like, dang, I really messed up, but I really want to be here, I want this to work, you gotta fight for that thing. You can't just be like, oh, I messed up and I'm just gonna let it go. You know what I mean? Like, and fighting for it is gonna be starting at the beginning, starting back over to try to build that trust again.
Yeah.
And there's steps that you take in order to do that.
I'm always be a proponent of forgiveness, you know, but I've also heard R. Kelly said it, when a woman's fed up, ain't nothing you can do about it.
It's only
you know?
so much forgiving you can do, and then, you know, it's forgiveness and grace.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
But it's about what I'm seeing, not what you saying.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta put that into the context of it as well.
But I like what you said, you know, and I don't see a lot of this, especially within, I guess because it's Hollywood, so to speak, but nobody's fighting for their relationship.
No.
You know, one relationship that comes to mind for me as it relates to, like, you know, that celebrity status is like Kirk and Rashida, you know.
Yeah.
Kirk, man.
But,
I don't know how many times you go.
What he took her through, though.
I get it. I get it. And it's like, Rashida, she a good one.
And what do you expect her?
Yeah.
She's not gonna keep going through all of that foolishness. We as women don't have to.
I agree.
Ooh,
We don't.
That's
have
heavy.
To.
That's heavy.
I
Why
agree.
keep going through it if you don't have to? So I mean, she's done, and I get it. I don't watch it, but I read about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
She's finished. She's through with him. I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't know what he's trying
I don't
to
even
do.
think he know what he's trying to do.
I think he's just trying to do what he best can do to kind of fight for the relationship.
Yeah.
And it's like, you never know what you lose until the moment you lose it.
Right.
And so, you know, but I also feel like, are there different standards for people that are married versus people that are in just like
I agree.
platonic relationships.
Yes.
Because me personally, marriage, you know, you're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to go through
Definitely.
situations where trust
Definitely.
can apparently become an issue, you know, in some relationships. Do you just throw the whole relationship away? You know, just throw the whole relationship away
Just
out the
forget
window?
it.
Or do you just, or do you work on reconciliation? Do you work on those things or moving toward that process? And is that, like I said, is it the same process for somebody that's just quote unquote dating? What does that look like?
No, I don't feel like this. It's the same process. Because with dating, you could just be like, okay, you did this 10 times. I ain't got to do this no more.
Right,
But in
right.
marriage, it's a total different ball game.
Because you in it.
Yeah.
You in it to win it, and stuff is going to happen. And a lot of times people don't look at too that certain things happen and continue to happen because somebody ain't learned from this. So you're going to keep going through it until you get it.
That's
Until God sees that
That's
you
true.
got it. You know what I mean? So
That's
in
true.
marriage, you can't just be like, oh, it's been 10 times. I'm deuces. You can't. You know what I mean? A lot of people do. They change marriages like they change underwear.
Absolutely.
But you have to seriously. But you have to be, like I said, in it to win it. And you're gonna go through a lot. But everything you go through, you grow. You know, you grow together. You grow and learn, or you're going through it for someone else. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Like you have to kind of look at it in that aspect, depending on what it is, and it's not boundaries in what that is. You know what I mean? So. Every day is grace. Every day is love. Every day is forgiveness.
Yeah.
You
It
know?
should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and some people are watching and nobody's chiming in a lot. But Melvin did say so true. He said, then you realize what you lost, you know, but then when you lose it, what do you got to do to get it back?
That.
And
Hey.
my thing is, he also said we tend to take our mate for granted.
Yes.
Until they're
Wow.
out the door, gone, deuces, holler at you, see
Wow.
you later.
You get comfortable.
yeah.
That's it.
yeah.
You get comfortable and you get cozy, and you can't get comfortable. You can't get cozy. Like whatever it is that you did to get that person's attention, to keep them there, you have to continue to do that, whatever it may be.
Now I'm gonna throw a wrench in the
Go
in
right
the potion.
ahead. Go
now.
ahead.
Throw
You
the
know,
wrench.
because my wife and I, we had these conversations
Often.
often.
Hey, girl.
Shout out to my wife,
Yes.
Jocelyn Sorrells, the style counselor. But who's responsible in the relationship in keeping things fresh? Who should that responsibility lie on?
Both.
Why you put it on one person?
Well, I'm not. I'm
both.
asking a question. I'm
It's
posing a
both.
question.
It's both.
Okay.
Both.
Let's
but
dialogue.
what you asking that yet, and still there has to be a conversation.
Definitely.
Because if I don't know
Communication.
that it's getting stale,
Communication.
and then you like, well, it's getting stale, I'm out, and you ain't said nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, how am I supposed to fix what I don't know what's happening?
But if I see it, but you know, like you said, you can see things without even saying anything.
Sure.
So if I see it, if you see it, then you need to be trying to do something about it.
Exactly.
Address it.
I don't have to tell you. My friend always say they won't know unless you tell them.
Exactly.
I beg to differ though on some of that because I think some of the stuff you can visibly see
Yeah.
without anybody saying anything.
Yeah. I feel like-
Everything. You might need to talk about it more than waiting to say, "Oh, they should know. They
Right.
should know. They should
Right,
know."
right,
But
right.
if you see, and if you know I'm sitting around with my thumbling doing all this, then you know it's time to go do something. Take
Yeah.
me somewhere. You know, we ain't been on a trip in ages. It's time to let's go somewhere.
I don't think you need permission to be
Right.
to be the initiator in
Not
things
at all.
in a relationship.
On either side.
On
Not at
either
all.
side.
Not at all.
Now I do feel like as men we have a responsibility to tend to the gardens of our woman. I definitely understand that. And I definitely agree with
Ooh,
that.
I
but
like
at the
that.
same
He said, "Tend to the
the
you gotta
garden.
tend. You gotta
Here
tend. You
in
gotta
the
plant. You gotta water. You gotta
garden.
pull up weeds. But at the same time, you know, if we're willing to invest in that garden, eventually we want to go out and see a harvest.
Hey.
We want to eat from the fruit of that of our labor.
Yes.
You know, and so women, y'all got to keep that in mind.
And that's a sacrifice.
Yeah,
That's a sacrifice.
yeah. But you like I said, just going back to my point, you don't need permission to be the one that initiates the spontaneous activity that
Right.
you necessarily
Never.
like. Because you said it, if you visibly see it or notice a change, why are you waiting on?
I'm gonna wait till he
Somebody
do
to
it, or
say
I'm gonna wait till
something.
she do it. Like somebody do something, or it's gonna fall apart.
Because I'm trusting and believing that you're going to see it and notice it and take heed
Yeah.
to what's happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially generally, when you're married, you're one, so you're on one page. So if that person is, you know what I'm saying, a little off, you kind of know, like, your spouse. And not saying you should assume anything, because you always should have that communication. You should always talk about
Communication
everything.
is key.
But you can kind of pick up stuff like body language and things like that, where you kind of know, like, something is kind of off or something's going on.
So how much does communication play in trust?
It's
Ooh,
everything. It's
A lot.
everything.
So I'm gonna ask y'all. Y'all got men, you know, y'all women, y'all queens, so y'all got kings or whatever. So do you make it a point for your king to kind of check in, or you just know, like, oh, Jabron is at the gym, or Jabron is, you know, with the girls, or, you know, your husband is somewhere else. You know I he don't have to check in. What does that look like for you?
Well, for me, I mean, here we go with the trust. I trust him enough that if he say he's somewhere, then I trust him to be there. This is the problem that I have, and he and I had talked about this. You're telling me you're going to Jags, okay? You're going to go to Jags, you're hanging out with your boys, you're smoking cigars, and you're doing whatever. Okay, that's where I'm expecting you to be.
Okay.
The next thing you know, you done went over to the other side of Egypt. You done left Jags, and you never said, "Oh, honey, we done left Jags, and we came over here and blah blah blah." I feel this is the only reason why is because if something happens,
That's true.
I need to know where you are
Yes.
to make sure it wasn't you, and then to send somebody, if it was me or if it was our daughter, you know, to make sure, okay, he's over at so-and-so, well, then go get him or find out or call someone. That's my
Yeah.
only reason.
Yeah.
Anything other than that, you don't have to call me. I don't need you to check in with me because you're grown, because that's my trust that I have in him,
Right.
that he's going to do what he's supposed to do, how he's supposed to do it.
Right.
Now, granted, it's a journey with trusting
It is a journey. That's
all
good.
Taking time.
over again.
That's good. That's good.
It's a journey. But I'm not willing to just say, oh, shoot, forget it. I ain't got time for all of that. I'm still willing to work at the fact that you're trying to gain my trust and I'm trying to gain your trust. So it goes both ways.
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe, too, that progress is a process. So if there's something that's happened in your relationship where the trust has been broken, there are small things that, you know, you have to do to build into that. And like she said, it's not about necessarily checking in. It's just about the accountability
Correct.
of
Accountability.
your spouse. You know what I mean? So if a car accident happens or anything happens, like, well, I seen that. Like, no, that's not where my husband was at.
Right.
Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean? So just having that communication on every little single thing, from I'm out, I'm getting me something to eat. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna get him something to eat too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just because in marriage you should always be thinking about someone outside of yourself. And when you've died to yourself, it's a process and a progress every day.
Definitely.
But it gets easier as time goes on. You're always thinking about the safety and the love of that other person. You know what I mean? So and you trust that they're gonna represent you well when
Yep.
they're away,
Yep.
and you're gonna represent them well
Yep.
when you're away. You know, so it's on both sides.
You can't keep it to yourself. Stop keeping stuff to yourself. You got to share. You got to share with your mate.
Everything.
Yeah.
And that's how stuff happen.
Exactly.
Because
you're
crack
trying to hold it.
a crack becomes a hole,
Yep.
becomes bam, it's all busted open.
Here's the thing, and I think this is a struggle for men, and I appreciate you all as queens wanting to hear a man's perspective as it relates to this concept of trust.
Yes.
This is what I've learned, and I was thinking about this earlier today when I was granted the opportunity to come. Trust takes a level of vulnerability. You know, in a relationship, there are times where you hit potholes
Yep.
in
Yeah.
relationships, and you may notice that some things have become stagnant or some things have become stale, and you may be having some internal struggle
Right.
that, you know, your partner isn't aware of.
Right.
That takes a level of vulnerability to say, you know, I'm gonna push my pride out the way, and
Open up.
pride is a relationship drainer,
Yep.
men, and pride will keep you from being vulnerable.
Yes.
And we have to be trusting enough of our partner to say, you know, I'm getting ready to open up Pandora's box, so to speak, in some areas in my life that nobody knows about.
Right.
Those dark, we know we got those dark areas.
Absolutely.
Those things that we try to avoid.
Yep.
But really there's solutions in those dark places.
There is.
If we have to be willing to be trustful with our what we may be dealing with in silence, and really talk about those things with our partners. But like I said, the main thing is understanding that trust takes vulnerability. You've got to be willing to become naked
Right.
with that individual that you're with.
Right. And on the flip side of that, I find, well, it seems as though it's more challenging for men to be that vulnerable than it
Very
is for women, because we're just
Yep.
like, that's just how God built us.
Very
Like,
challenging.
that's just
Right.
our nature. You know what I mean? And so on the flip side of that, as a woman, you have to be able to caress and,
Yes.
gently hear and listen and adapt to what it is that he's open up and saying, because if you don't, it's going to shut him down.
Absolutely.
And then it ain't going to be a next time.
Absolutely.
You know, it's going to be
Absolutely.
like trying to get a nut out of the shell with your bare hands. It's
And
not going to happen.
That takes that. I'm telling you, ladies, it's not that we don't want to open up. It's just we're afraid. And as men, we've got a 3-letter word that we battle with every day, and that word is ego. Ego. And so, depending on our upbringing,
Yep.
being connected to our emotions was either seen as soft,
Yep.
or too sensitive or whatnot. I'll be the first one to tell you. My wife is watching live. I'm thankful that I'm in touch with my emotions. Now, I think, there has to be a balance, definitely.
Absolutely.
There has to be a balance, because don't no woman want no
No
soft,
crybaby.
wet nap, Lysol, white, Clorox,
Right.
bleach, soft, onion.
But we do,
Crying man.
but we do appreciate that sensitivity, and
Definitely.
we want to
Please
see
say that again.
We appreciate, fellas, ladies appreciate that sensitivity, and we want to see it more.
And not at a funeral.
Nah.
Not
Oh
when
my
somebody's
God,
dying.
yes,
I mean, let's just keep it real.
not
Yeah.
at the funeral.
Yeah.
But we want to, we desire to see that
Yeah.
more. But in order for that to happen, you guys have to feel like you're in a safe place where
That's
that
it.
can happen.
Safe place.
So
And we got to teach our sons how to be sensitive.
Absolutely.
We have to teach our sons not to be so stoic or stale, and learn how to identify what emotions we're feeling at that particular time. And a lot of times, when you're trying to connect with a man and you're trying to get really inside of a man, you rarely should ask them how are they feeling. You should ask them what are they thinking first. And it's in that question is the conversation starter. Because ultimately, whenever you ask a guy, typically, and I'm not saying this is the case for all men, but typically when you ask a man, how you feel, babe? What's wrong, babe?
because
How
that's
you
the question we want y'all to ask
Yeah,
us.
exactly.
So that ain't the same question that we need to be asking y'all.
Exactly.
But
So-
Yeah,
that's
okay.
a part of building trust, though.
Yeah.
That's a part of building that trust. And I need to know that whatever question that I ask, I hope you answer it
Honestly.
honestly.
Without hesitation.
How do you
Right.
build How do you build an atmosphere or like you said, a safe place for honesty? How's that built?
I think this is the same way.
Time,
It takes time, and you got to have that foundation. Once you build a foundation on trust, I think that honesty comes in.
Yeah.
I think honesty and trust all plays a role in itself. But once you build trust, what else you got?
Right.
Because that's it. That's really the whole package.
Because they feel like I can give you everything now. You know what I mean? On both sides.
If I feel like you're not gonna cut me for being honest,
Exactly.
then I think
Right. If you're going to be soft and gentle with me.
But black women-
While I'm
everything
presenting
ain't
this.
always soft.
that's true.
It's not.
Everything
It's
ain't
not.
always
It's
soft.
not. It's
But-
not.
Some things are cutthroat, and you put the jugular in it, and that's
Yeah.
just how it is.
But,
So
but,
if you-
but it ain't what you say, it's how you say
It's
it
how you
sometimes.
present. That's what I was getting ready to say.
It's-
I go back to
Yes.
to that Cosby episode where he was talking to Dabness, Vanessa's fiance, and how they just presented their engagement to their family, and Cosby was like, it's like getting a steak dinner served on top of a trash can. And so presentation is key.
It's everything.
It's key. And I'll go a step further, ladies. Presentation is key, but also how you respond to
Yep.
what we tell you is key.
But then
because that'll
too,
shut them down.
exactly. But hold on, you want them to respond, but sometimes it's got to be a process. Women sometimes have to process because I don't think you want
Sure.
them to just say it.
Women are processors. I agree.
Because here we go. If they say it, now their actions have become okay. Maybe I shouldn't have
Said
said that.
nothing.
You know, maybe I shouldn't have told her that.
What I
Lord,
done
Lord.
did, Lord.
Right. So you got it is what you say. It's your delivery, but you always have to remember what you say and how you say it. Make it a response that you really aren't prepared for.
I think we also have to take into account when we have those type of conversations as partners, as lovers, or whatnot. Every conversation is not going to be peaches and cream.
Not
We
at all.
understand that, and I believe that trust is often built in warfare.
Yeah.
But
And that's what-
at the
yeah,
same
he
time,
he
somebody
trust
said
is
that.
built through battles.
Oh
Trust
man,
is
shout
big.
out to Jabron. Trust is built through
Through
battles.
battles,
Yes,
yep.
and I think what we have to understand within the context of that statement is we're not enemies.
Right.
We're not enemies. We're allies. We're in this thing together.
Together.
Right.
And so that if you keep that mindset at the forefront of each other's minds, then things will not become combative.
Right.
I see arguments, so to speak, as an opportunity for us to strategize together and to become and to create a resolve for one another. I think a lot of times there's such a negative connotation on arguing
Right.
when it's an opportunity for your mind to connect with my mind, and I can respect your thoughts, you can respect my thoughts, and we can figure out a resolve. And sometimes that resolve is let's table it, or sometimes that resolve is we're going to agree
to disagree.
to disagree.
And yeah, that's so true. And a lot of times, it's some folks when it comes to arguing, it's hard to agree to disagree because I want to push how I feel off
Right.
on you
Right.
because I want you to agree with
Sure.
me, and that's not healthy. Because we all function differently. We all
Yep.
think differently. We all receive things differently. So yeah, I like the way you.
Can
put
y'all
that.
do a trust fall with y'all mates? Would y'all
Oh,
do a
yeah.
trust fall with?
Oh yeah.
You would?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Why wouldn't I?
Oh yeah.
I mean, after 30 years.
I mean now.
30
now,
years?
Now,
Yeah.
Shout
now,
out to Sandy, 30
I was
years.
about to say
That's what
now,
I'm
if I
talking
fall
about.
now and I let it talk about it, we gonna have some problems.
exactly. Exactly.
It's
You
gonna
know,
be some problems.
Well,
my
your
friend-
husband is silly.
Yeah, that's a long time. My friend Angel Green, who's a life coach,
Hey.
she always says, we'll sit on the show and she'll say it's a 24-hour period. Give yourself, if you have to, if you have to table that conversation, table it for 24 hours. Don't give it no more than 24 hours, but make sure you get back to it. Because now here we go again. We're still building that trust. You're consistently building that trust. You're still communicating with each other. But I need to wait. I need to take a breather.
I need to process
hold
that,
on.
yeah.
'Cause, if I say it, you're going to get mad, and then you're going to go out the door, and things going to happen. Or I go out the door, and something going to happen. And that's the last thing we need.
Yep.
So communication, trust, and honesty. Hey, if you got those three, I don't know. Love gonna be in the middle somewhere. It's
Without a doubt.
eventually gonna come into play, especially if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody.
Mhm.
But we talked last week. If you don't communicate, if you do not communicate with your mate, and you're about to get married to this man or this woman, and then after you get married, now all of a sudden you want to tell Jabron, boy, look, let me tell you something, and then hold on, time out.
who is
Why
this?
didn't you tell me that before? I trusted you enough to get to this point, and we married each other.
Right.
This is supposed to be for a lifetime. I trusted you to this point, but you waited until we got married
You let it off. Hang
to
out.
let it out.
Mhm.
That's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair. Nobody can sit here or stand there or watch this and say it is.
Mm-mm.
So do you throw the whole relationship away?
Well, shoot, you done said I do.
You can't throw the whole thing away.
You
now
can't
we
throw
got
it
to
away.
we got to
Right.
try to communicate. We got to try to break this thing down in small sections and do piece by piece because man, something changes. I'm gonna let y'all folks know something change when you get married. When you're shacking up or living together, y'all just boyfriend girlfriend. When you get actually married, something changes. I'll never say it's negative. I can't explain what that is, but it's totally
Does your
different.
trust change? Does the trust that you had, you're dating, you're living with each other, you're engaged, you're married. You're not married yet. You're not married yet. You're living together
Mhm.
or you're engaged. You're getting ready to get married, but 5 years down the road, You've been living with each other for a long time. Now all of a sudden, here's the wedding. Here's the wedding. And you said I do. Does your trust change now in that person? After you've said I do?
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. It's supposed to build more and more and more depending on what's happening. It's real though. It gets real. Like, oh, this is really real.
Marriage
like,
is a whole nother ball game.
This
That's
is
what
That's
really.
what people don't
this
realize.
This is really
It's a
real.
whole
Like
nother
I
ball
ain't going
game.
nowhere. Like
You know,
this is real.
You know, and then we got to understand that, marriage is there's different facets of marriage.
And my
Mi-
husband said it's spiritual.
Th-
The whole
th-
thing
absolutely.
is spiritual.
Absolutely.
It is all spiritual.
Absolutely. It's because you're not just making that commitment
Yes.
to your spouse.
Right, exactly.
You're
You're making it to God.
You're making that commitment to God, and it's like, we've got to have more loyalty. At times in the marriage, there has to be more loyalty to the institution of marriage
Yep.
Yeah.
versus
Yep.
your mate, because
Absolutely.
your mate will have you reanalyzing and regretting or questioning why y'all made this
Or
commitment in the
together.
first
Yeah,
place.
and you calling a lawyer.
And you call a lawyer.
And he said communication is the foundation of trust.
Communication
So
is the foundation of trust.
that's that. That's
Absolutely.
that concrete bottom layer. That
Absolutely.
communication.
And it's like, here's the thing. I think it's important to put an emphasis on your vertical relationship.
And then
when
this
you're
is gonna
trying
work
to,
out.
Right. Build a horizontal relationship between you and a significant other.
Yep.
And we've got to keep that in mind. I'm telling you, it'll be 11 years for my wife and I in October. And, I enjoy marriage. I love marriage. But it has its times where it's like, it's hard,
Yeah.
And
It's
I don't
work.
think we're
It's
honest
work.
enough I don't think we're honest enough about that.
It's
Definitely.
work.
It's definitely work.
Mm-mm.
It's definitely work. But as long as we see each other, it's like the gym, going to the gym. When you feel yourself getting ready to lose your strength and you lifting up that weight bar, you need a spotter.
Yep.
And in marriage, that's what we're supposed to be to
Yep.
one another.
Yep.
We're both getting each other ready for that big dance.
Absolutely. You can't take advantage though of that individual. You see, you done lost all your little strength, and then you need a spotter, and then all of a sudden you're gonna turn the other cheek. You're gonna look the other way.
I don't want you to spot me.
Exactly. You don't say, well, do
Don't
it by
waste go
yourself.
fall on
Don't
your
waste go fall
chest.
You did everything
You gonna be in
else by
trouble.
yourself.
And you're really going to be saying it with your chest.
Right.
Because
Literally.
Literally. But I'm just going back to your point, Sandy, is just the whole game changes when those vows
Yes.
come into play.
Because you're making a covenant with God.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you have to
Thanks,
figure
babe.
it out. I'm telling you, I do believe, and I don't know, I just do believe this. Trust changes in that piece when you get married. Trust changes now. Some form of trust changed. Now, when you weren't married, they probably didn't even care. You went on with, I don't care where he go, what he doing. So I don't care what she doing, where she going, or whatever. Now you married.
I agree.
Now you married.
Because you have to trust them even more. Because
Exactly.
even more.
Even more after you say
Yes.
I do. So a form of that trust got to change. But how does it change? And you said it. Now I got to trust you even more than I trusted you before, because now we have said those vows and we done stood before God and man. And
Accountability.
Absolutely.
I think what enhances that trust is commitment.
Mhm.
You have committed yourself to the covenant partnership between, first and foremost, you and God, and secondarily, you and your spouse. And so commitment enhances trust. Commitment should enhance trust, definitely. And I think, like I said, I think that whole context of commitment can not only be limited to romantic relationships or marriages, but even in work, even in partnerships, investments.
Yep.
I'm committed to the vision.
Yep.
So I have to trust that you're committed to this, and trust that you're going to put your best foot forward in pushing this mission and pushing this vision, because your commitment level has said, I'm a part.
Right.
We're in agreement with one another.
Yep.
So.
And you said it. Push the vision. We were just talking about that on Monday, about how everybody don't see your vision.
No.
No, not
And
at
you
all.
got to know who sees that vision and who doesn't. Everybody
Yes.
ain't for you.
No.
Sometimes you don't need to talk about it. You don't
true.
need to let it out. I said I done had that conversation twice. This is
Yep.
the third time
Yep.
this week that what you said. We talked about it Monday, and
Yep.
somebody talked about it earlier with me during the day on
Wow.
Monday.
Wow.
So it's something going on with that
Some
thing.
going
that
on.
vision.
Some
That's
going.
the
some
spirit.
That's the
God
spirit.
talking to you.
Yes,
without
sir.
without a vision, the people perish.
That's
and so
correct.
you
That's
got to
what he said.
understand.
That's
You got to
what he said.
understand that that's not just limited to dreams and passions, but
Yes.
what is your marriage vision? What is your
Yes.
financial vision?
Right.
What is your health vision?
Right.
Yep.
What is your vision for your children? What is your vision for legacy?
Yep.
You know,
Yes.
and then you put those things into play, and you begin to walk that vision out. You know, and I think a lot of people have lost sight of what their vision was, even in relationships.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
They lose sight of what
Yep.
they saw in the beginning
absolutely.
because they've gotten too busy in the work of a thing
Or
Right.
complacent.
or complacent. Absolutely, absolutely.
And you are absolutely correct. Ooh, Jesus, that's hot, y'all.
And that same viewpoint is the same when it comes to the relationship and the marriage.
Absolutely.
Yep.
With the, I'm gonna wait for him to spice it up. Oh, I'm gonna wait for her to spice it up. Like, no, you get in there and do what you gotta do.
Do what you got to do. See, because I like to go. I like to go.
Okay.
I like to do stuff. I can be dog tired. If you say we going somewhere,
I'm the same way.
let's go.
Yep.
Let's go.
I'm
Where
the
we
same
going?
way.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, but if I could sit there all day and you want to watch TV and I ain't feeling like it, and then I said I'll see you later, I'll be back. Then where you going?
You ain't wanna go nowhere. You don't wanna go nowhere.
I don't know. I am a goer. I like to do stuff. So when you know your mate, and
Yeah.
your mate knows you,
When you know your mate.
and you have built
Trust.
trust,
And you've communicated
and you've communicated
on every level.
honestly. Oh, we done covered all them. What?
We done hit the
Yeah,
basics.
this was a great segment.
And my husband said, "Hi, honey." He said, "Vision without a plan is just a dream."
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
You gotta put the thing to work.
You got
Like I said, faith without works is what?
Dead. It's dead. It's
You
dead.
know, my vision was to start this to make sure that whatever I did, that we would feed the people some positive influences,
that's so good.
positive messages.
Yeah.
You know, because you hear so much negative stuff around on TV.
Yes.
You know, and it's I want to build it so we be real, we be honest, we tell the truth. You know, the foundation is built on truth and honesty.
Absolutely.
You know, and just giving the people something positive because it's
Something
too much,
different.
Yeah, and something very, very different. There's too much negativity going around in the world, and we wonder what's going on with our kids.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
You know, and it's not always about you could raise your children to the best of their ability, your ability, and everybody else's ability. But at some point in time, they'll lose sight just for a brief moment, and then something out there will catch them.
Yep.
Something to catch them. So if we can catch them and we can put something, or if I can catch them, if I make a difference in one person,
I'm like that
mission
too.
accomplished.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
One at a time.
One at a time.
That's why I love Tuck Radio, and I'm so glad to be a part of the family here and just to continue to push that vision and push that mission because, as you've already stated, there's so much negativity already that is available. I mean, within a touch of a thumb on a phone.
Correct.
You know, and I think, you know, there's an imbalance in the universe as it relates
yeah.
to the energy, as it relates to the vibe in the airwaves, so to
Right.
speak. But I think it is intentional that God will raise up a Tuck Radio at such a time as this and really allow it to become a medium for positivity, for love, for, you know, building community,
Yep.
you know, uplifting people and
Yep.
so forth. Absolutely.
Praise God. We're going to touch and agree on that.
Hey, we're gonna get
That
that,
was
that
the
offering.
word,
We're gonna get that
honey.
offering plate
Yeah, we-
together.
Pass the offering plate here. That's the word from the Lord. We got Reverend Brig Deacon Missionary Saints and Friends over
Right.
here.
Yeah. Well,
Pastor Montez.
I
is in the
appreciate
house.
it.
Do it no way. Can't do it no
Hallelujah.
other way.
I can only be myself.
Man,
So
that's all we
and
do.
I
That's
appreciate
what
you.
we do in here. You know, we keep it real. We keep it 100. And we do. First of all and foremost, I tell everybody, we love the Lord. I
Yes.
love the Lord. I love God because if it had not been for God on my side, where would I be? Tuck Radio would not be in any kind of existence had it not been for God on my side. And I
All
thank
right.
Him and everybody else that's
Amen.
a part of it. And I thank God for placing people in my life. I don't care if it's for a season or a reason or whatever.
Amen.
He placed them there for a reason. And I'm so thankful for that. And every day I meet somebody new. I meet somebody different. You know, you just never know who you might meet.
Well, thank you for pouncing. Thank you for pouncing.
Hey.
Baby, we pouncing. Y'all
Thank you
heard
for
what
pouncing.
I said?
We did some
Pounce.
serious pouncing today.
On tomorrow,
Pounced on trust.
7:30. Yeah, pounce on that.
We
here.
pounced on trust today.
Pounce on that. More pounce to the ounce.
Yeah, yeah.
Right here on Tuck Radio, and that's what we do, and that's how we gon' keep doing it.
Make sure y'all like it. You share this video. Tell your mom, your aunt, your cousin, your brother, your sister, everybody.
Absolutely.
And y'all definitely got to check out Pounce tomorrow, 7:30.
7:30,
Right here.
7:30 p.m.
Right
Got a
here.
special guest for the very first broadcast. And like I said, we were touching on this evening. Just want to do something positive for the young people. I got a special young man that's coming on tomorrow. He's a junior at Deer Park High School.
Okay.
They just won the state championship.
Ah.
Wow, that's what's up.
And
Bet I know him.
he has an incredible story. His name is Joseph Hawker, and he has an incredible story. And Pounce Talk will be available tomorrow. And we just want to highlight individuals that are doing some things, that are moving, that are taking an aggressive approach in pursuing their dreams and just wanting better quality of life for themselves. And so we're grateful for Tuck Radio for allowing us to be a part of that.
Well, you sure enough welcome, my friend Montez. You and your wife, because you know I heard she do some things.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
what I'm
she-
saying?
yeah,
She
yeah.
got to be a part of the family too. So
Absolutely.
we have to bring her in so she can,
Absolutely.
help the people.
Absolutely.
You know, we can help the people.
Health to be. That's a good way to
We
put it.
get
Got to
their
help the
style
people.
together.
Yes,
we gotta
yes,
help
yes,
the
Get
yes.
folks in their right side.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Jocelyn Sorrells, the style counselor. You know, does all things image. You need an enhancement in your image. You need to get with her. Jocelyn Sorrells, the style counselor.
Hey,
Absolutely.
we're going over there.
Yep.
We take it. We take it on the road.
to the
We
streets.
go places.
Take it
Oh,
to
I
the
would love to
Take it
do
the street.
what is that? A remote? What is that
Yeah,
called? A
we take it to
remote
the
broadcast?
streets,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's take it to the
We
streets.
take it to the streets.
Tuck
Definitely.
Radio, we taking over.
We
take
in
it
these
to-
streets.
Yeah, we
You
are in the
understand?
streets. We're
Literally.
in the streets.
Yeah, we ready. I'm glad to be a part.
Thank you for being a part. You know, this is the time that we come and we give you some positive words of encouragement. But before we do that, you know, there's this big play that's coming up in the city of Cincinnati.
Yes.
And our friend and brother and husband and loved one is going to be the head man in charge.
Yes,
That's what
he
I'm
is
gonna call him.
hosting the I Have Changed
He is
play.
hosting
The
the
stage
I Have
play.
Changed stage play.
Yes.
And it's coming May the 11th, right here to the city of Cincinnati. And if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, hey, I'm telling you, look up Rojo. She can get you the tickets. You know,
can go to
you
ticketleap.com.
or go to the ticketleap.com and you'll find it. There's a number. If you go to the
513.
website, check it out.
It's 514-278-8066.
Hey, caller, call the number. I got my tickets. I like sitting on the front row. I cannot wait. Tuck Radio will also have in the studio
We'll be in the building.
Yo-Yo, Kelly Kells,
Ooh,
Andrea Johnson,
they coming
Joe
to Tuck
Little,
Radio?
and
know
David
it.
Tolliver.
Oh.
They're
You know
coming
it.
to
It's
Tuck
what we do.
Radio, baby.
Yes, sir.
It's what we do. They're coming. They're coming. They're coming. They're coming. They're
So that's
coming.
why you
They're
got to stay tuned. You got to
Stay
listen
tuned.
in. You got to download the TuneIn app. It's real easy. It's free. Download it. Listen in. Share, like, comment, all of that good stuff. Go to www.tuckradio.com. And you can find us there as well.
Absolutely.
Yep, you can hear it 24/7. We do the old school R&B.
We do good
real-
music. Good music.
Real good music. And it's commercial free. Not a whole lot of talking and everything and wasting your time. We put you to sleep. We wake you up in the morning. We do all of that. So tune in and check us out. So if you didn't get anything today, trust.
It's coming.
Trust. But you have to trust and believe in yourself in order to trust and believe in somebody else. So this is where we come to the show and we give our little, our positive words of encouragement, so it can help you carry on the rest of your week or the rest of your evening until you see us next week,
Same
right
time.
here, same time, same bat channel, Tuck Radio, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So on that note, what I'm going to say to you all, trust in the Lord with all thine might, and lean not to thine own understanding. Once again, I said trust in the Lord.
All right. I like that. Thine and they.
That's
Hey.
right. All of
The
it.
original baby. So my quote is coming from Maya Angelou. So shouts out to her. Rest in heaven. Try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud. Try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud, whatever they may be. All right.
If I could leave with something, I would say you are the answer to someone's problem. And so because of that statement, that now makes you an asset and not a liability in the relationships that you're in. And so just remember that, how am I adding to this individual's life versus subtracting from this individual's life? Because you are an answer to that, to their lives.
On that note, people, Pounce will see you tomorrow night right here, 7:30. Hey, and guess what? Since our tech is not here, we are out of here.
Absolutely.
Peace.